Many years ago, when I was a teenager, I got invited to go to a Christian church night. I had a really bad experience at that point because I didn't understand the expectations. And that caused me to write persons off for the better part of my adult life. I avoided them at all costs and thought that they were just judgmental, figurative people. I could not have been no wrong. Welcome to the Mental Health Janitors, where we help you clean up the mess in your head. I'm your host, Sgt Q, and with me as always, Doc Jess.
Hi, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Jess, have you had a time where you had that really black and white thinking and just didn't see the other side at all? Couldn't see it?
Absolutely. I'm sure I have. I have a little bit of a different upbringing, and I do remember my dad specifically, my parents intentionally teaching me about this concept and instilling in me intentionally growing up that there's always what they called three sides to a story. And so I do remember like the foundation of me, my human growth, the development in learning about people and relationships. I always had that kind of in the back of my mind. And so I had less encounters with black and white thinking when it came to people or experiences.
Yeah.
For me, it's more of an all or nothing thinking when it comes to my own disciplines or my own lifestyle.
So what does that look like to it? Because the same processes are happening in the brain. Mine was with people and relationships, but yours was with self-discipline. So what was that?
For me, the all or nothing thinking has looked like in cycles of my life. If I can't work out 5 days a week for an hour and get up to 170 beats per minute, then I failed. And so then I get lazy and I don't work out for 3 months. And so I was in the black or white camp of if you can't go, because I was raised in really competitive sports and then the army. And so when I got out of the army and I put on some weight, had some kids, I was still in that mindset of, well, I'm not running 3 to 6 miles a day in the army. I'm not doing sprinting drills like soccer or rugby. And so why balk? That was my all or nothing experience of thinking, also known as
dichotomous thinking.
yes.
Yes, dichotomous thinking or black and white thinking, all or nothing thinking. And so it really creeps into all these different areas of our life. For you, it was really about self-discipline and self-image, I think, with the discipline. And for me, it was about relationships. So no matter how you experience it, it happens to all of us. And you see it all over the place, Jess, on social media, on both sides. It's how social media really polarizes us. It's because it wants to get us into that black or white thinking, because an already just feed us more and more and more and more and more of whatever side it thinks is wrong. It just continues to feed that to us.
It's a human nature thing to already struggle with and to begin with, a foundational thing of this all about thing, black and white thinking. And then adding onto it all the things we have at our fingertips and the algorithms that just influence that all or nothing thinking and add to it.
And you see that where if you disagree with somebody on the left, you automatically a racist and bigot and all of these things. It's like, well, you're MAGA, you're all these things. It's like, wait a minute, I just disagreed with the position. But automatically, they go to that all or nothing thing.
And I told you this before. I was a part of a farther right, a Facebook group, and I just had a question about, hey, should we really be doing this? And then I was like, oh, you're the blue-haired. And I was like, oh my God, I just have a question. So it's just crazy.
The other side, then anything that somebody says, then automatically your TDS, Trump drenching syndrome, right? They created this voting term that they label people with that for anybody who disagrees with them. Now, there are people who are like that. Yeah, it's anything that Trump does. It doesn't matter what it does.
Yeah.
Like the whole Wolfine man. You look at Biden, you look at Kamala, you look at Obama, they all say the same thing. Iran has to do stop. And they were talking about putting these things in place, bombing these areas. You know, they talk about doing all of these things. And then Trump shows up and he does them and automatically he up. So anyway, this has been something that's been discussed for a decade that needs to be handled. And Trump just did it. Anyway, you see it got very black and no matter that. And I just watched this happen. And there's something new right now that's happening. In social media, it's all over right now that Trump just instituted an automatic draft for anybody age 18 or older.
Is that true?
Automatic, yeah. That's what's going on. You haven't seen this on social media?
Wait, so is it going around on social media or is it actually, has he actually done?
It's solid. No.
Hold on. Remember, I was taught growing up, there's always three sides.
There
to a
is
story.
three sides. But what's your initial reaction?
Everybody over 18 is getting drafted. Hell yeah. Let's go. Let's be like South Korea. You know, I was stationed in South Korea and we had so many South Korean soldiers because they all have to do 2 years.
It's compulsory.
You have to do it. You know how much discipline and patriotism. So sure, if you want my unfiltered reaction to that, get some of these pansy butts to basic training and teaching the little thing about serving other people and learning how to do some hard things.
Right. So that's one side. And everybody's like, yeah, yes, send them. And the other argument is, oh my gosh, I can't believe everybody's going to be forced into military service. This is like Nazi Germany and all of
Like he's talking like that.
And you're seeing both of these polarizing things.
Yeah.
But that's not what actually happened. What actually happened is that, the selective service, they've had that, it's called selective service. Every male, when you turn 18, you have to go down to the post office and you have to register for selected service. You're just registering saying, hey, I'm an able-bodied male. Here's my information. So if there is a war, they know what to contact.
Okay.
This has been around since the 40s, I think, or 50s. It's been around a long time. It's called registering for selected service. That's all that it is. It's been around forever. Now, here's the point where they freak out. The automated messaging. That was it. The automated it. We don't need you to go down and register for selected service. You have the internet.
Yeah.
We know we have your social. We know when you graduate high school. We know when that turns 18. So there's no need for you to go down and register.
Yeah.
Like you used to before the internet, when it was all snail mail. So all you hear is say, hey, why are we doing this? This is a waste of taxpayer money. This is a waste of time. Why do we need all these people hired to process all of this selected service stuff and put it in a database? We have this technology already. That's all he did was just automate.
Let's just switch.
That's all he did is flip a switch. That's all that he did. But the left freak out and say, oh, well, he's instituting a draft and everybody's going to have to go, which is not. The parameters are still set. It's still just men, 18 able-bodied, still just men. Women are not being put into selector service.
Interesting.
And then you have the other side, who are like, dang it, the draft, like, yeah, everybody, let's go. But that was not what happened. But people put that stuff out, and they don't put out, hey, Trump automated this selected service. That wouldn't make a headline. That wouldn't make a clip. Now, but when they put something out that's polarizing, it divides people on both sides. This is something that's so minute, something that is so non-newsworthy, but it's blown up into this huge firestorm. And it's just not true. All you do is automate
the already put in place system.
Yeah. So saving taxpayer money, automating the system, making it easier for them. Very, very simple. It's such a non-issue, non-thing. And I guarantee you Trump didn't come up with this. If somebody else came up and said, hey,
this is how much we're finished on this. This is how much we could save if we just automate.
They brought it out to some congressman or some advisor, and they brought it up and something like, yeah, you go do that. That seems nothing of a interesting. But that polarized people, and that got both sides into that. Wow. All right, Jess. So we just talked about your experience with self-discipline, my experience with Christians as a kid, and then what we're facing right now with this black and white thinking as far as the draft goes. So let's break this down. What is this exactly?
Yeah, dichotomous thinking is black and white thinking or all or nothing thinking. It narrows your options to have different thoughts and pathways, which then results in either too high of expectations or cognitive distortions.
So in the cognitive distortions, that is seeing through that dirty lens. It's not seeing things as they are, but you're seeing things through the lens of the trauma or the experience.
Yeah, if you break down cognitive distortions, cognitive is thoughts, distortions is wrong. So it means you just create wrongful thinking surrounding certain events or topics or ideas.
So this cognitive distortion, Jess, here's a great example of this. So in the 1990s, we shot this satellite into space that was actually a giant telescope, the Hubble Space Telescope. And it was supposed to send back some of the most amazing images of our planet and of our solar system. Everybody was super hyped up on this. And so they fired this thing off. It cost millions of dollars to build it in like a decade to build it and millions of dollars. We fired off of this space. We started getting the first images. It's like, oh, this is amazing. It's great. And then the blue lights, but those aren't quite as sharp as they should be. What is happening? This doesn't look right. So very quickly, they found out that something was wrong with this telescope. It was coming back and the images weren't crisp. It was blurry. And very quickly, they found that one of the lenses was actually leaking. So we spent all this time and all this money, brotherly candy. So they spent close to $1 billion bringing up the spills. And then sent it up there, got the fix done, and now we have some of the most incredible images of our solar system. Now, they could have just left that lens up there. We really got some pretty cool images, but they would have never been quite like, they would have been just sorted, it would have been blurry. So they spent a tremendous amount of time and money to fix the lens so that way they could get these crystal clear, awesome images. And that's what it's like in our, when we experience trauma, it damages the lens in which we see the world. And if we don't spend the time and the money fixing those cognitive distortions, we're never going to be able to see the world as clear as it truly is. We're going to miss all of that. All right, Jess, so there's got to be a solution. I know we talk about the negative bias a lot here, but this is something that's different. So I don't want you guys to confuse the two. They're very closely related, but this is something a little different. And so what tool do you have for us?
Yeah, there's so many tools on this, and I don't want to be too repetitive because I know that I've shared some of them with our audience before. Today, I want to talk about behavioral activation, which is a tool that's really small, but it's actually really powerful, and it would be more directed towards the dichotomous thinking that I struggle with, the all or nothing of certain patterns or goals I'm setting in my life. If I can't do it all, then I don't do any of it at all. Does that make sense?
It does. I do that all the time. That's how I decide whether or not I'm going to invest in my energy. If I can't do this 100%, then I'm not going to do it.
Sure. And there's some wisdom in that as you're an entrepreneur and investing money, things like that. And there's also things that you're going to miss out on, certain growth, if that's how you look at everything. So if we're thinking about wanting to get healthier, you're not going to be able to change all of your bad habits like that. And if you try to, that's where those unrealistic expectations come. And then you can't fulfill those and then you give up. That's why so many people are at the gym in January and by March, 10% of them are there.
Yeah, I talk about that a lot in the new year. It's a great model for revenue for the gyms
Sure.
because they know people are going to quit. Okay, so what is the tool? What does this look like?
This looks like a tool called behavioral activation. And it's really where you don't wait for the motivation to do something. You start with small behaviors, you act on them, then that motivation follows behind it.
So basically those dopamine.
Yes.
The dopamine. So when you accomplish a small goal,
Yes.
then you get dopamine, which allows you to do the next one and the next one. Yes.
And this is used a lot in cognitive behavior therapy surrounding depression symptoms. So a lot of the times people who fall into a deep depression, major depressive disorder, or seasons of depression, sometimes just taking a shower feels too much for people. And if you've never experienced that level of depression,
I have.
thank God you haven't, but some people have, and it's a pretty dark place to be. And so behavioral modification looks like this. Small, meaningful tasks to begin. It could look like if you are struggling with taking the shower or your personal hygiene because of your depression, it's starting with washing your face. Anybody can get up and wash their face. I'm not thinking about taking the full shower yet. That's too much for me right now. I'm going to wake up, I'm going to splash my face with water. That's it. You do that, and that's a small behavioral modification. It's a small, meaningful task that once you get it going, you get the dopamine and your brain starts hitting.
You said something to you. You said meaningful.
Yes.
So it's got to be something attached to your overall.
It has to be meaningful to you. And so taking a shower is meaningful. What is one small micro step towards getting to that shower? Maybe you shower, maybe you don't care. Maybe you're not a hygienic person, but maybe something meaningful for you is you're getting older and you're about to be a grandparent and you want to be able to crawl around on the ground with your grandkids, but your body is declining because you're aging. You're not going to jump in and do Pilates reform 5 days a week like I do. No, a behavioral activation for that could look like I'm going to walk for 10 minutes after breakfast. It's meaningful because it's getting your digestion going. It's really good for your blood glucose levels. And it's small and tangible and doable. And then once you get that down, you can build on.
Well, I love that, Jess. Those small little goals, they start to build like compound interest.
Yeah.
So I do my mental resilience coaching every Sunday. And I've got a lady in there and she's been trying to lose weight. And she's been trying to lose weight for a long time. And she's really struggled with this. It's something she's very open about, trying to do these different things to lose weight. And in the group, she talked about how she just stopped eating. Like that's his first step. She's like, I can't do all of these things at once. No fast food, no soda, no candy. It just felt so oppressive, so big. And we were talking about something similar now about having these small little things to do that would compound.
Yes.
Which is similar to what you're talking about. And so she said, I'm just running around. And that's what she did. She threw it all away. And she gave away, threw away, and decides no more in the house. And that was the first step. She felt so good. Good enough to share that with everybody. I was like, that is amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah.
So it's those little things that give you that motivation.
Right. It's because this all or nothing thinking, right? I'm going to get rid of everything. And then when you can't live up to that expectation because it's unrealistic, in 6 months, you're back to all your bad habits and you're at the same weight. But if you say, I'm going to take one small thing, a small, meaningful behavioral activation, I'm going to get rid of my candy. I'm just going to stick to that. And you do that for a couple of weeks and you're like, I feel really good. I'm going to get rid of sodas. And then you get rid of that. And then in 6 months, you've gotten rid of candy, you've gotten rid of sodas, and maybe you've gotten rid of dairy. I don't know, whatever it is. And that's still in 6 months way better than the last 20 years trying all these big, gigantic
Bad diet.
sad diet, all these things, right? And so it's building on those micro dopamine hits that just keep that ball rolling of momentum.
Yeah, I thought it was so cool. And it was a great example of what we're talking about, which is somebody that we both know. And to just see the joy in her eyes when she told that story, it's amazing. This is exactly what she's doing. Okay, Jess, what I want to do is I'm going to break down this behavioral activation. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, but what this sounds like is setting small, meaningful goals to help you accomplish a larger. What this does is it activates the dopamine centers in the brain, helping you stay motivated, which then builds the ACC, our anterior cingulate cortex, that helps us do hard things. And this means that the next time I'm trying to do something hard, it would be just a little.
Yeah, that's what behavioral activation does. Absolutely. That's what it is, and that's what it means.
Now, that's something that you guys can use in your everyday life. You can put this into practice. And if you're interested, you can join my free group every Sunday, 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. There will be a link in the comments or in the show notes. You guys can come check it out. It's totally free. It's a group of like-minded people that are trying to build mental resilience.
If you're liking the content that we're putting out, please do us a huge favor and like the video and share it with your friends. Subscribe to our channel, and that helps us figure out what we're doing right and what we need to do differently, and it would just really help us out. So thank you for doing it.
Yeah, you guys really help us broaden our reach. So we thank you guys so much. We just hit 1,000 followers on Facebook. This was really cool.
Nice.
Corey Ray, big shout out to Corey Ray.
You got the white guy?
So he's the one who posted it.
No, he didn't.
That's such it is. He's such a good fan who hosted it, put it out there. He's one of our top fans for sure. So thank you, Corey, for doing that. Share this with your friends. It's super easy to share it on your page. Something that you like, one of our shorts. You don't have to do the full episode, but one of our shorts, people absolutely love watching those. There's tons of them. So watch them throughout the day. They'll really help you with mental health care. So we do three things here on the Mental Health Janitors. We want to educate, empower, and encourage you on your mental health journey. For the Mental Health Janitors, I'm Sgt Q.
I'm Doc Jess.
And we're out.